One of the coolest additions to Cyberpunk 2077 with patch 2.0 were some of the new open world encounters. You could stumble upon gang members driving up to enemy locations to conduct a hit on them, police getting into gunfights with other gangs on the streets of Night City, or even just sometimes a vehicle pulled over by the NCPD. And one pretty cool feature of this is, if you join in on some of these gang fights and side with one gang or another, the gang you don't attack will remain neutral towards you, so you could basically help out one side to win the fight if you want to. Or even have some of the surviving members chase you down in their own vehicle, creating some pretty interesting moments. With patch 2.0, the fast travel menu was updated, so now you're able to cycle through various types of map markers that will appear, not only being restricted to fast travel markers. This will be particularly helpful for tracking vendor locations that are near fast travel points, and specifically finding a Ripper dock may be handy here, as you now have the ability to sell cybernetic implants there. Selling cyberware is going to be a new feature with patch 2.0, and thanks to the reworks around ARM cyberware, if you load in on an old character, you'll very likely find several copies of your ARM cyberware, and you could sell the duplicates for a good chunk of eddies. Destroyed vehicles with update 2.0 will now have a rebuilding time, so you cannot immediately call them back in. By default for me, this time took about 5 minutes, which can end up being a pretty big deal because of how few vehicles have built-in weaponry with them. So if you get your best vehicle blown up, make sure you do have at least one viable alternative. And when browsing this vehicle menu, you can at a glance see which vehicles do have built-in weapons because they'll have a different icon compared to the rest. But if you are looking for a new vehicle with some built-in weapons, you can grab the Quadra Type 66 Hoon. You'll be able to find this one in a warehouse in Watson on the north side of the map. Simply go to where my character icon is here. There'll be a collection of warehouses and the car is simply sitting inside of one. Although if it's not there for you, you have to progress further in the game. It seems like this is only available after you've completed the prologue of Cyberpunk 2077. Once you get inside, a new quest will activate named I'm in love with my car, and it'll task you with finding the keys to this car. They're just going to be stashed in a container right next to it. After that, congrats, you now have a fast car made 10 times better by some built-in machine guns, as well as it features bonus armor. This overall is going to be a reference to the recently deceased professional rally driver Ken Block. His car was known as the Hoonicorn. This is the Type 66 Hoon, and this vehicle will be permanently added to your garage after you do find it. But one of my favorite of the new hidden features with patch 2.0 is CDPR made some of the alternative operating systems like Sandevistan or even Berserk have secret functionality to make them a genuinely viable alternative to just the traditional cyberdecks. But between Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, and soon Phantom Liberty, I've just been attached to my PC. Although there has been one thing making the rest of my life a bit more awesome, and that one thing is today's video sponsor, Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club that is completely free to join, and monthly you'll get a box of awesome delivered right to you. These feature awesome products for all interests like barware, outdoor gear, or even live oysters. Each box has around $70 worth of goods within, but costs you only a fraction of the value. 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based right here in the US. Like with the Forge box featuring this insanely detailed Damascus steel knife made right in Pennsylvania. You fill out this quick quiz so you'll always get products you like, and there'll even be a preview of what you're getting, so you can swap it out or even skip a month or cancel at any time. I've had the Bullseye box for a few months now, including the tough target face and leather sheath for some carbon steel throwing knives. This has given me hours of backyard fun over the entire summer, but the Canteen box is one of my absolute favorites as of late. It has everything you need for lunch on the go. The Hedgehog lunch bag is stylish and insulated, all the while being made out of sustainable tree cellulose. The Porter lunch box is a perfect reusable bento box with 3 distinct compartments to fit everything you'll need, and of course the Porter utensil set to keep all of your utensils clean and easy to transport. All of this and even a bit more can be yours right now, and since you watched this video, you're in luck. Get 20% off your first box of awesome by just clicking the link in the description, entering code JUICEH20 at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/JUICEH20. With patch 2.0, both Sandevistan and Berserk got overhauls and even feature some new hidden mechanics to make them far more powerful. You can now activate and deactivate Militech Sandevistans at any time, so turn it on to slow time for a bit, but then you could turn it off halfway through. This dramatically increases the utility of Sandevistans, as you now have far more functionality here. You don't have to just use it at the start of combat and spend the rest of the combat waiting for it to reload. You can now use it as you need it, as well as a variety of Sandevistans have new functionality where getting kills will extend its duration, allowing for you to stay in a slow time state almost permanently. And there's also a new introductory perk under the cool tree that allows you to use Sandevistan while driving, which can be incredibly fun and powerful. And the same goes for Berserk. Berserk was overhauled, so now many many of the Berserk options will make you temporarily immortal while it's active. But also, while Berserk is active, you can freely perform finishers on enemies, even without having the required perks to do so. I have no idea if this is intentional or a bug. Berserk doesn't actually mention this being a feature, but using this combo of temporary invulnerability with free finishers makes Berserk incredibly strong now. And even as just a simple example as to how far-reaching patch 2.0 was, they even overhauled Black Lace. In the current version of Cyberpunk 2077, Black Lace does a ton of things. It provides a ton of bonuses to your character. Before, it just increased your armor by 10 points. That was literally it. Black Lace is one of the rarest items in the game. You can get this from Dum Dum at the end of the pickup, right near the start of the game, but this will only be available if you 1. Side with the Maelstrom, and 2. if you chose the Street Kid life path. So despite it being incredibly rare, CDPR still felt like it was appropriate to update the effects from this, even though it's just a one-time use item, because unfortunately, yeah, it is still gone forever after using it one time. We've heard how you'll get different police responses depending on which district of Night City you're in, and a really nice detail around this is you can literally hear the NCPD responses being different on your police scanner as you get a wanted level in different districts.
All nearby units, we got a situation in Watson.
Roger, dispatch. What else is new? We'll be right there.
We have an 0211 in Westbrook. Units in the area, come in.
Roger, dispatch. We're at Silk Road West. ETA 3 minutes. I swear, if some rich gonk's pool is clogged again,
All available units. Disturbance reported in city center.
521, roger that. We're en route.
There's now an assignable dodge key in the game. This can be remapped to whatever you like on PC, as well as now you're able to sprint with your scanner open, this being really handy when you're trying to reposition yourself before going into quick hacking. A variety of features that were previously locked behind perks are now open to anyone in the game, so some of these aerial takedowns that you couldn't do previously without a perk, you can now do just by jumping on an enemy at any time, as well as throwing knives can now just be used freely without any perks required to gain access to this. The turn off or shut down quick hack has been reworked. You could use this to turn off things like turrets, but now it is temporary. So the turret will only remain off for a limited amount of time and eventually turn back on, and it will start attacking you again. Although it honestly doesn't matter, because alternatively just use the assist quick hack, which will make the turret target tagged enemies and basically be on your team. This one is permanent and costs about the same RAM, so you could just use this instead of turn off and the turrets won't attack you. The level by which you gain access to some cyberware was changed. Leg and arm cyberware only starts showing up after level 10 now. So if you just began a new game and were having trouble finding some cyberware, this is likely why. You just have to level up more. And speaking of, there is a new piece of cyberware in patch 2.0 with Jenkins tendons. There's going to be a new leg cyberware that will increase your sprint speed. The way this will work is it'll give you a big boost in speed initially, and the bonus will gradually wear off over time. And this can make a big difference in short sprints, as you will be moving much more quickly on the start of that sprint. Broken weapons are a new feature in Cyberpunk. Occasionally after fights, you'll find an enemy that dropped a broken weapon, and it's just going to be labeled as a junk item. But if you see these, always loot them. When you loot a broken weapon, it'll immediately break down into its crafting components in your inventory. Crafting components are weightless, you'd never actually have to do anything, so this is equivalent to just looting crafting materials, which are always handy. The thermal katana has finally been implemented into the game. You can get this during the quest Disaster Piece involving Judy, but if you already completed this, as it is fairly early on, you can still get the katana, although you will need 20 technical ability. To get Arata, you need to go over to this building that reads Electric Corporation. It's located pretty center on the map, and it's going to be on the east side in general, and you basically just have to go to where I'm standing right here. From there, work your way into the basement of this building, and eventually you'll stumble upon a door that requires 20 technical ability to open. Once inside, walk up to the furnace, and you'll find Arata sitting there waiting for you to loot it. If you're not familiar with this one, the thermal katana was prominently shown in some of the Cyberpunk marketing, but was not in the original game's release. So a lot of people are wondering, well, what happened to that katana? And we finally have it by legitimate means. As well as they added a new Nihon iconic knife that you can get during the prologue of the game. You'll find this knife on the body of Saburo during the heist, making his death just feel a bit more impactful. Although unfortunately with this one, it seems like if you don't get it during the prologue, you will not have access to it unless you purchase Phantom Liberty and have access to the new vendor. You're able to use melee weapons on motorcycles in Night City now, so you could be a full-on ninja with your thermal katana and an epic motorcycle. With patch 2.0, you can get a new Trauma Team themed AV for your apartment and even a Trauma Team outfit, finally. The way you do this is by getting the top score in the new Trauma Drama arcade game. You can find these all over Night City, but personally I used one located here, right near the Selena's fast travel point, and you simply go down the set of stairs. The premise of the game is take out enemies to get more points, and after all of the enemies are gone, you can move on to the next level. So yeah, you can spend a ton of time and effort just getting the top score through a lot of effort, because this will take you a while, or you can cheese this if you're just really lazy. Once you get to the third stage of the game, which will kick off in Westbrook, progress until you get this helicopter showing up above you. Simply take out the helicopters that appear until you have 2 helicopters appear, and then once this happens, you could basically just stand off to the side and farm enemies for points. When the 2 helicopters arrive, the only enemies that'll spawn will be dropping from those helicopters, so no enemies will come up from behind you or ahead of you, and you can basically just sit here and take them out endlessly. If you find a shotgun, you don't even have to move. I basically just left my computer with the fire key held down for about 20 minutes, and eventually I had the top score. This will kick off a very short quest where you have to apply to join a Trauma Team internship, and then you'll be rewarded with some of these items. As well as there is another minigame out in the Badlands. From the Protein Farms fast travel point, run over to this house with a church-like tower. Once inside, you'll find another new arcade game named Arasaka Tower 3D, where you play as Johnny Silverhand storming Arasaka Tower. And both this room and this minigame are not here on accident. There are some pretty major secrets tied to all of this around the FF06B5 mystery. I'm going to have a video deep diving on what all of this means very soon, as we're very close to the answer. In the Columbarium out on the east side of Night City, you can find several newly added grave sites for some of the notable characters from Edge Runners. When you have a weapon holstered, you can now hold the B key or triangle or Y on a controller to play the first equip animation as you take your weapon out. This is a very popular mod feature that has now been added into the game as a permanent feature. If you enjoyed this video, get subscribed. I have a ton more Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty content coming, including several more videos planned for this week. And if you are jumping back into Cyberpunk, check out this video where I show you a bunch of other hidden features that are a part of the base game and will make it a lot more fun.